Welcome to Scoop Board Order. A new era of Ohio State athletics is here. Ross Bjork is about to be our new athletic director. A monstrous hire. Very excited from Texas A&M. We are hiring a big-time guy who's raised a lot of money, knows NIL like the back of his hand. This is going to be huge for Ohio State football. We're going to talk about Jamie French, a new five-star target that Brian Hartline is going to reel in for us, and everything in between, OC, candidate search, timeline for all that. We're getting into all that. As always, we appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for kicking with us again on a Monday night. It's a little bit different. Happy Martin Luther King Day for those of you that celebrated and were able to take the day off and enjoy the Steelers losing. Shout out Browns fans. The Steelers lost too, so they don't go to the second round. So we have the Eagles. Bucks are kicking off shortly, so we're going to get through this episode real quick. But if you enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. And give me in your comments your thoughts on our new athletic director, Ross Bjork, who I think is going to be a slam dunk grand slam. Nowhere to go but up from where we've been. So I'm going to bring in Nevada Buck. Nevada, we have a new athletic director. Thank Christ. We have someone who isn't from the Gene Smith tree or not Gene Smith, so that we can actually grow this athletic department and maybe get a new football facility sometime this century. Your thoughts on Ross Bjork as he takes over as the athletic director in the near future?
Well, I mean, I think you've got to look at the hires in combination with the new president. And when you look at the hires in conjunction with the new president, you realize what a profound change that this is for Ohio State. And, you know, if you look at the run of presidents that we've had, you know, they've all been similarly kind of inclined and maybe had a lack of understanding or a consistency with the values and how people in Ohio kind of view Ohio State and how the importance of Ohio State football and where that kind of fits in people's hearts and minds. And with the hire of the president and now with the hire of this AD, I mean, football's first and foremost. So as a football fan, you have to be thrilled with the hire. You know, if your view is, hey, you know, I'm really not about football, I'm really more about the institution and this and that, maybe you have a point, or maybe you have a different perspective or whatever. But from strictly a sports standpoint in general and football in particular, absolutely grand slam home run. You're talking about an athletic director who understands NIL and fundraising intimately, and for the responsibilities of an athletic director in 2024, those are the two skill sets that you need to possess. He possesses those in abundance, and I could not be more excited about the hire. I was very concerned they were going to stay kind of within, like you said, within the Gene Smith tree. They went outside of that. They've got a guy that I just think is going to be a grand slam for Ohio State football, and it's a great day for the athletic program. So let's go.
Yeah, it's one of the best days in Ohio State history, in my opinion. Again, I would have bet, and this, I'm not a gambler, you're a gambler, I am not a gambler. I would have bet a large sum of money that it would have been Pat Chun, or to a lesser extent, Martin Jarmond, who is at UCLA. Pat Chun is the AD at Washington State. He was at Ohio State for a long time as an associate, kind of an underling, kind of working his way up the ladder. I know Pat. Very unimpressive person. Again, that would have been a very easy hire because he knows the status quo. He kind of knows what it is. But he's exceptionally unimpressive. Between Florida Atlantic and Washington State, that's where his career has been since he's left Ohio State. So, you know, if you say, Kirk, gun to your head, where is the next athletic director coming from in terms of being, is he going to be the best guy for the job or the most comfortable hire? Most comfortable hire is Pat Chun, guy, Washington State, again. But, you know, in any other facet of life, if you say, well, Ohio State football, big bad Ohio State, the biggest, baddest, nastiest, strongest university in the world, is hiring somebody from Washington State, which not even the number one school in Washington, just an also-ran university. Nobody pays attention to them. No one cares about their fundraising. Mike Leach left them so he could get better at Mississippi State. If we hire that, I think it's a comfortable move. Hiring a guy from Texas A&M, however, which is a top 7 program in the country, according to revenue. They were 7th in the country. We were 1st in the country. That's a whole different ball of wax. There's no comfort there. There's no Oh, we got to pay tribute to Gene Smith. Again, I talk to people, and this is why I don't trust sources all the time, is because they said, oh, well, the final two are Pat Chun and Martin Jarman. And I've known Martin Jarman for 15 years. I served on a charity board with him. Very unimpressive person. He's at UCLA, hasn't done much there. You hand him the keys to Ohio State, probably crashes it into the mountain. And instead, we go outside of the comfort zone and we go get a real athletic director. And I've been this happy in a long time. I've been studying this guy. I've been watching his interviews. I've been reading everything, every article I can find about this guy. I've been reading, contacting every source that can about this guy. I think this is a home run, grand slammed home run. And again, people can revere Gene Smith and say Gene Smith was a fantastic AD, and they can give him a varsity Letterman coat. But the fact is, Ohio State has not gotten a new football facility in the almost 20 years that he's been here. We've gotten a bunch of facelifts and window dressing, but Brian Voltolini and Mark Pantoni presented me with a report 4 years ago and said we have the worst football facility in the entire Big Ten. And I was like, really? Like the worst? They showed it to me, and they said we need a new football building as bad as anybody in the Big Ten. And they showed it to me, and I was like, I think the Woody's pretty nice. Oh no, not compared to the amount of money we bring in, all this other stuff. The fact that we have a new basketball building, a new wrestling building, a new volleyball, women's volleyball thing, a new boathouse. We have like every dumb sport in the world has got a new building, new basketball facility is unbelievable. Even like a new just Olympic and every other sport. The use where the Ernie Biggs is now, it's now the Shoemaker Center, which is the opposite, literally the exact same land as the Woody Hayes. Opposite is brand new, spanking new, demolished the Biggs. They didn't do that to the Woody Hayes. The Woody Hayes has gotten a bunch of facelifts, but honestly, compared to where Michigan is, A&M, Georgia, Bama, our facility is trash. And again, Gene Smith let that happen. And again, this guy's going to walk into that building for about 5 seconds and say, why is your building, for what Ohio State football has done over the last 20 years, why is your building so substandard compared to what every other top 5 to 10 program in the country is at? And again, that's why I'm happy that we're not bringing in a Gene Smith stooge who's trying to placate every other sport. We have 36 sports at Ohio State, so it's hard. You have to make everybody feel welcome and happy and equal. But in reality, like football drives the bus, and football needs to be taken care of. And it's not right now under Gene Smith and under the stupid politics of Ohio State. So I'm very excited to see what this guy can do. And I hope he recognizes, look, we need to be at the standard that Michigan's at, Texas A&M, Bama, like where they show these beautiful, glorious videos of the new facilities opening, new indoor facilities, like new weight rooms. Like Ohio State needs to be on that level, and we're not right now. So Nevada, your thoughts on that? As I rant and rave, but it's like I do it for the people in the Woody Hayes because I'm their voice. They tell me, Kirk, our facility sucks. Like, why can't we get a new building? I was like, I don't know. It's because you guys suck and you latch your cart to the wrong horse. But I can be honest because I was like, I've seen Michigan stuff, I've seen A&M stuff, pretty nice. Our stuff, trash. But your opinion?
Well, look, they talk about when you want to know about about yourself, you look at kind of the quality of your enemies, and I look at the people that are kind of blasting this guy, and like they're the most unimpressive people in the world.
Oh, it's the dumbest human beings on earth. The dumbest, the dumbest. So I'm happy with that. That's great. I know we're on the right path.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no, it's this really is big. We were talking about the stuff that's been happening in the off season, and we were talking about the transfer portal. We were talking the returning guys and the incoming class and all the excitement of 2024. And let me tell you, this is way bigger because this is going to have implications that go way beyond next season. And for Ohio State to kind of get to have a young guy that just is perfectly aligned with the idea of making Ohio State football the best and the shining beacon and the kind of the tip of the spear for Ohio State. This is what you're getting, and that's what you want. That's what I want as an Ohio State fan, and so this is definitely a good day.
Yeah, I'm absolutely over the moon. And again, Susan says, "Why are Texas A&M fans glad to be getting rid of this guy?" Well, you have to understand that fans are generally complete morons, complete idiots. They have no idea what they have until it's gone. I just think like you don't judge anything on what fans want or their whims or this guy's good, this guy's bad. Again, Nevada, me and you talked earlier because they're like, oh, well, everyone's upset because he gave Jimbo Fisher this big contract and then he fired him and this big buyout. And I'm like, well, again, it's like you said, and we talked about when he signed him to that deal, LSU was coming after him. He was 9-1, and he also had won a national championship in 2013 with Florida State. So, he was among the hottest commodities in all of coaching. And, and A&M thought, well, our coach is 9-1. He's won a national championship in the last 2-3 years. So let's lock this guy down because we don't want him to go to LSU. Because if you lose him, then all of a sudden, if you're the athletic director that loses a guy who's won a national title because you got outbid by LSU, then you're going to get fired anyways. It would be like if Ohio State lost Urban Meyer in 2015 because Texas A&M offered him $150 million and we offered him $75 million, like, the AD is going to get fired. And it's not going to matter that, his best, because it's always easy to do revisionist history. And people will be like, well, Urban Meyer's peak was in 2014 because in 15 they didn't win. And then in 16 they lost to Clemson. And in 17 they lost to Iowa. And in 18 they lost to Purdue. So why would you ever pay Urban Meyer $75 million to extend him in 14 when you knew that he was going to lose in 4 years to Iowa and Purdue? Like, nobody knows that in the future. All that I know is that if I'm the athletic director, I'm not going to let Urban Meyer walk out the door to some monstrous offer because I'm like, well, he won the national championship, but, he might lose to Purdue or, Iowa at some point in his career, so we can't extend him. I think
but Kurt, I just want to emphasize one thing because there's these dumb narratives that have been put out there. First of all, you have to remember, he was not there when they hired Jimbo Fisher. He came 2 years after that. So, you can't blame it. Well, he hired Jimbo Fisher. Well, first of all, Jimbo Fisher, like you said, had a national champion. He's a national championship winning coach, and you have a chance to get in there at Texas A&M. So, however it worked out, that was a big get for Texas A&M. So, but one, he didn't hire him. And then, as you said, COVID year, shortened season, 9-1, number 4 in the country, and LSU's coming after him hard. If you don't extend him, you're a jamoke. You have everybody in the world that have to extend that guy.
Oh God! So and you lose him to LSU because you don't extend him. Oh God! Have fun being an athletic director for that one.
Yeah, so this is one of those ones where people want to have this perfect vision in terms of what happened. I mean, look, this guy, as an athletic director, he did his job, which is retain your coach and raise NIL money. Now, it didn't work out the way that they wanted to, but in terms of his objectives, he accomplished his objectives and did a great job in terms of doing it. So, no, I like I said, I want people at least to get it right. If you're going to criticize him, at least be right about it. Don't say he hired Jimbo Fisher, because he didn't hire Jimbo Fisher. He wasn't even there when that whole thing went down. But I digress.
I think he's a home run again compared to what I've been going against, because people ask me literally every day, Kirk, who's going to be the next athletic director? And I'm like, well, do you want my opinion? It's probably going to be Pat. You put my money on it, it's going to be Pat Chun, because Pat Chun's been here. I know that we interviewed Pat Chun and Martin Jarman. I know both those guys very well. I was, a player and a coach when Pat Chun was working out every morning at 6 a.m. with walking around the building, towel around his neck, riding the Aerodyne bike, whatever. Luke would be in there. I'd be in there working out at 6 a.m. And he's not impressive. He's easy. He's an easy hire. He's another guy in the gene tree. But I thought it was totally worthless. And then Martin Jarman, who I was on a charity board with for over a year and a half, totally worthless. And I thought those are the two guys we're going to hire. Here we go. Get the cronyism going. Get the same old sleepy, relaxed, easy way to do things going again. And I would have bet a fair amount of sum that those are going to be our guys. And instead, we went totally opposite. It's kind of like bringing in Ted Carter. We brought in Ted Carter, and I was like, oh my God, we brought in a naval guy, a smart guy, not somebody who's only flown over the state of Ohio like Christina Johnson and Michael Drake and all these other morons we've hired over the last few years. We brought in a real human being to be our president. I almost died. And then when I saw who we signed as AD, I was like, holy God, we are figuring it out. Because again, this guy is a fundraising machine. This guy knows NIL. He's fist fought in the SEC. He's not from Washington State, not from UCLA. He's not from these teams that suck. Like A&M is a powerhouse, and fundraising wise and money wise, they're at the top of the food chain. So this guy's dealt with serious money. He's dealt with fundraising. He's dealt with NIL. They signed that huge class a couple years ago, which obviously it bombed in spectacular fashion. But like this guy's learned a lot of lessons. He knows how to grow the department, and he understands football. So again, this is as good as it gets for me. Because I'm telling you, like I thought we'd take the easy route and we take the comfortable route, and we did the exact opposite. We went and found the best guy for the job, and I couldn't be more excited about this guy. Like I really couldn't. Like I think it's going to be fantastic. I think he's going to do great work. I think he's going to grow the department, grow football, and really for me. And again, I'm exceptionally selfish. I'm going to say this right into the camera. I am very selfish. All I care about is football. That's it. If football is great, the whole school is great. If football sucks, if we stink, this guy's not scared to make a change and get it to where it needs to be. But your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah, no, it's football for me as well. While I care about the other sports and I'm sympathetic to them and empathetic to them, look, I just want OSU football to be banging, and this is certainly an indication that we've been in the golden age of OSU football. We might be going into the double platinum age of OSU football. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited, and again, I can't wait for this guy to take over and get run. Because again, like the hard part with Gene is like Gene retired like last year, and he's like a lame duck until like June or July whenever he retired, whenever he formally is out of office. I'm like, I mean, it's January, so he's gonna be chilling for like 6 more months, and I'm like, dude, get this guy in that seat and let's start growing the university. Like if someone's like on a 6-month vacation tour or whatever, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Because how hard is he really going to be working to improve the position? Is he going to have successor syndrome where he doesn't want the next guy to be better? Because again, Andy Geiger was monumentally better than Gene Smith. Gene Smith's been here since 2005, sucked, and then this guy showed up, and this guy thinks going to be way better than Gene. So, there's like this 20-year period of average. Where, again, we've been great thanks to Jim Tressel and Urban Meyer. Nothing to do with Gene Smith at all. Ryan, to a lesser degree, hasn't beaten Michigan, hasn't won anything, but still been, okay, made the playoffs a few times. But I think that he's been kind of buoyed by the success of football. And again, like, I know people say, well, he hired Urban Meyer. And I'm like, well, yeah, like my 6-month-old German Shepherd could hire Urban Meyer. So that's not hard. When he's a free agent in 2011, you make him the head coach in 2012. It's not hard. So he gets no credit for that. But it's like everything else has just been stunningly average. And I'm excited to see like what a real dude's going to do in that position. Ryan Coolidge, thank you for the 20. Great news on the new AD. Totally agree. But breaking news, Nicole Auerbach called and said she wants to play Seabiscuit in the sequel. We don't control the sequel, but she is a big old mama. Great job breaking news on the scoop, gentlemen. Nevada, your thoughts on Nicole Auerbach? Would you ever let her, if you were, you've directed, negotiated, set the cast for movies? Would you ever let her play any sort of mammal, 4 legs or less, in your estimation?
Yeah, she's quite she's got the lead in anything that requires any talking horse type of thing, Mr. Ed 2 or anything like that. She's definitely got the lead. But Nicole is I don't know where she is on this story. I haven't seen Nicole Auerbach. Has she been breaking any news as of late? I've been kind of waiting to see any Nicole Auerbach stories, and she's been strangely quiet on all this stuff.
Well, I think she's just been sitting in the barn, and I think they have a goat next to her that's like her friend, like in Sopranos. Like I watched The Sopranos last night where they killed Piomai. They burnt the barn down. So I think she's sitting in the barn with the goat right now, waiting for some good information to come, because there's nothing good coming from Michigan, and she's a diehard Michigan big mama. So again, like God bless all of Nicole, which is a lot of blessings and it's a lot of prayers because it's a lot of surface area, but we ain't doing that here on the scoop. Sean Harrison, thank you for the 5. Have you guys heard anything about Coach Mick being unleashed? Well, I pray to Christ that we do that because we need that worse than anything in the world. Seems like all the additions won't matter if change isn't made. Youngstown, Ohio. Youngstown is God's country, so I appreciate you. I mean, that's up to Ryan, man. Because again, Ryan has a different set of standards for Mick than Urban did. Urban had no standards for Mick. If Mickey wanted to have these guys all get drawn and quartered or keel hauled or murdered every workout, Urban's fine with it. Ryan, much more friendly, player friendly, players coach, easygoing, has a psychiatrist like the chick from The Sopranos sitting in the chair while Mickey's trying to turn up on them a little bit, make sure that they're nice and comfy, nice warm glasses of milk every time they walk into the weight room. Wasn't like that under Urban, but that's Ryan Day's narrative, and that's his edict, is make sure that these kids are comfortable and happy and relaxed, and massages, and make sure they're allowed to wear earrings, Louis Vuitton purses, and long hair, and all the rest. But I hope he changes it. Gets back to being a tough outfit, a tough program. Your thoughts, Nevada, on will Mickey be turned loose this offseason?
I don't know if it'll change that much. I mean, I think the only thing with Mick has been, we've talked about this on previous shows. People think that somehow Mick has fallen behind or isn't progressive or doesn't have the latest bells and whistles or whatever. And he's got all that stuff. I think that Ryan's probably been, I think when he first came in, I think the criticisms were warranted in terms of how the intensity was kind of, dialed back. I think they've definitely dialed it up over the years, and hopefully they continue to do it because the kids can handle it. Mick knows what he's doing, and Ryan would do well just to kind of let him let Mick be Mick, and let Ryan just kind of worry about other things. But we'll see. I'm definitely in a show me on that because I've heard it before, but I want to see it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a good offseason. I mean, you got to get these guys turned up a little bit, and especially the young guys have got to figure out how to contribute and be great. Mark Bundy, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen. This might be a prank, but I'm going to answer it anyways. Can I find a replica of your OSU jersey anywhere? Well, the team shop at Ohio State used to have a way to order a jersey. I don't know if it's still there. It looks like it is. If you click on the team shop, I'm going to put this in the chat. So if you check the chat, I'm going to post this real quick. Basically, there's a way you can get a personalized jersey. So if you go to, it's like it's gobuckeyes.com/collection/personalized-jersey, which I just put the link inside the deal. You can get it. You can get anybody. You can get Jack Tatum. You can get John Hicks. You can get me. You can get whoever you want. But that is in the chat now. So you can see the link. Copy and paste that, and you should be good to go. Appreciate you, brother. Expedition Greg, thank you for the 5. What's your take on Caleb Downs' reports that of his decision tomorrow? And what's the chances of Jason Candle being our next OC? Well, Bama's going to figure out their DC deal. That's something that obviously Kalen DeBoer got probably a pretty good reading on what needed to happen. And Nick Saban probably said, hey, go get this T-Rob guy and you'll keep your defense together. So they went after him today after he already signed a contract at Georgia. And then my thoughts on Jason Candle being the next OC. Again, anything can happen. And the reason I say this, it's not because I'm trying to, well, it is because I'm trying to hedge. But, I try to give you guys the most accurate information there is. Like, we are obsessed with being accurate, being first, having the best information. But the last 3 or 4 times that we've named an offensive coordinator at Ohio State, nobody had ever heard of Mike Yursich. Nobody had ever heard of Ryan Day. Nobody had ever heard of Tim Beck. Nobody had ever heard of Tom Herman. So, when we say we really don't know who it could be, we could name all of the hot names, the big hot board, the hottest names in the industry. And you guys will be like, oh, that'd be really fun. And then it'll be someone out of completely left field. Like when we hired Ryan Day, again, there's timestamps on every message board. So you can go back and look at Rivals or 247 or whatever, Bucknuts. Look at their message boards when we hired Ryan Day to be our offensive coordinator. Ryan Day had been fired by the Philadelphia Eagles. And then the following year, he goes with Chip Kelly to the 49ers. He's the quarterback's coach for Colin Kaepernick and Blaine Gabbert, and they sucked. They were complete trash. And him and Chip Kelly were so bad, they fired Chip Kelly after one season as the head coach of the 49ers. So, Chip Kelly does have a job, but Chip's made a fortune in the industry doing that. Long-term deal with the Niners. Fired him after 1 year because they're so bad. So, Urban's like, hey, I need an offensive coordinator. And, well, I got this Ryan Day guy over here. And, they fly out to Columbus. Chip Kelly was in the Woody Hayes. I'll never forget it. It was like yesterday. And Ryan Day is there. And I'm thinking, oh, my God, we're going to get Chip Kelly as our new offensive coordinator. It's going to be the greatest day of all time. It's going to be amazing. And instead, they hire Ryan Day as the offensive coordinator. I was like, who in the hell is Ryan Day? Why don't we hire Chip Kelly? Oh, well, it's because Chip Kelly told Urban, Ryan's really good. He's a genius. He was, he was a GA for Urban in 2005, but I'm like, dude, Urban doesn't remember a guy that was a GA in 2005. Urban couldn't even remember guys that worked in the building when I was there. So how's he going to know some GA from '05? But sure as can be, he hired him. Offense went to the stratosphere in '07 and '18. And when Urban was, kind of forced out and had to throw the whistle over to somebody, Gene picked Ryan Day. And Ryan Day's been our head coach ever since. So, again, that was a long, winding diatribe as to what happened. But, when people are like, Kirk, who's going to be this? He was like, I think it'll be, Jason Candle makes a lot of sense. Liam Cohen makes a lot of sense. Joe Brady would be a grand slam home run. You saw the Bills won again today. But, is that enough to win the whole deal? Or is it going to be, whatever? I don't know. Nevada, you've been through a million of these coaching searches. It almost seems like nothing is ever what it seems. There's ever when they hired Urban, everybody in the universe wanted Chad Morris. Chad Morris is the guy. He's the guru. Knows the spread offense. Knows the spread running game better than anybody. Grand slam home run. We don't get Chad Morris. We get lowly Tom Herman. And Tom ends up being way better than Chad was. Look at their career progression. Tom went to Texas. Chad popped up at SMU, nowhere near the same. But your thoughts on the OC search at this point?
Well, I think what's interesting to me, and I agree. I think it's one of those things that it's tough to really get good information and good intel on that. And so I'm really trusting the agents and the agent community to see who's being reached out to. And what they keep saying is, look, if it was more likely going to be a college guy, it probably would have gone down by now. And so I'm thinking he's got to be looking at an NFL guy, and that's why there's been a little bit of a delay. Because the one thing we do know was he was committed to doing this stuff pretty quickly. And he had talked about that right after the season, that he wanted to make these changes quickly so you could get the 20 incoming freshmen up to speed. And there's a lot of good reasons to want to get your staff going and ready to go and kind of in place. The fact that he's taken this long, I think it's got to be an NFL guy, and probably it's probably an NFL guy that we're not thinking about. It's probably not going to be Brady. What I'm saying? It's going to be somebody obscure. It's going to be Matt LaFleur's younger brother or something like that, and that's who you're probably going to end up with. But I don't have this one. A lot of times, we'll tell you when we have it. I do not have this one, and so the names I don't trust any of the names that I'm hearing, because I keep hearing the same. You hear Candle's name being put out there, you hear Cohen's name being put out there. I'm not sure if I trust that right now. So I'm digging and talking to people, literally every day, multiple times a day to try to get a good name. But I bet if you had put a gun to my head right now, I'm going NFL guy, and probably end up being wrong. You'll probably announce Candle in 15 minutes.
Jason Candle tonight at midnight. Yeah, tonight, as soon as we log off.
Exactly. That's the way it works.
Toro, what's up, my man? Thank you for being a Scoop Ultra member. Ohio State Football at Buckeye Scoop. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Saying getting healthy. I'm getting way healthier. Thank God for medicine and drugs, because I went to the Minute Clinic. It gave me a Z-Pack. Feeling good. It's almost about to full strength. But yeah, I'm really excited about the OC. Again, I don't like seeing Corey get fired, but mathematically, somebody's got to go. It's probably gonna be Corey Dennis, who's a good friend of mine, which sucks. But It's part of the profession. I mean, he's had a very good life. He's gone from an intern at Ohio State to a GA to a full-time coach, and he's likely going to have to move on just because I think that they want to promise that quarterback slash OC job to a big-time guy, and I think it'll be interesting to see. I mean, does that, if it's Liam Cohen, do they bring Eric Wolford? Does that displace Justin Fry? I don't know. What kind of inertia do you have to give to the coordinator? How big of a name is he that, do you let him hire 2 or 3 spots? Again, has Ryan Day learned a lesson from hiring Jim Knowles? He hired Jim Knowles, a couple years ago, didn't let Jim Knowles hire a single coach. So he's like, okay, I'm going to hire you to be my chef, but you don't get to cook any of the or bring any of the groceries. So here's your staff. You get Perry Eliano, you get Tim Walton, you get, a bunch of guys that you don't really know, you've never coached with, but they've got nice resumes. I mean, Perry Eliano coming off of, Sauce Gardner, who's, top 5 pick, and Kobe Bryant from Glenville, who's at Cincinnati and won the Thorpe Award. So, put him at safety and, away you go. Or in reality, I'm sure Jim Knowles would rather just start it off with Matt Garriani, who knows his defense like the back of his hand and is like his son and his disciple. That would have made his life a lot easier. And after 2 years, Ryan rectified the screw up. So, does Ryan see what he did wrong with the Jim Knowles hire and fix it on offense and say, okay, you're a superpowered offensive coordinator. You get 2 spots on your staff, so you can fire, Heartline safe. Keenan Bailey is Ryan Day's little stooge buddy, so he's not going to be going anywhere. But otherwise, if you want to fire Tony Alford, fire Justin Fry, have at it. Fill your staff up with who you want. I think that's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Sean Kurtka, Zach Smith has said multiple times on the show that Press Taylor has an offer on the table to be the OC. I really hope this is not true. I mean, Zach has great sources. He has really good sources inside the Woody Hayes, inside the program. So it wouldn't surprise me. Again, I'm not going to be the guy that's going to say, oh, he's wrong, right, whatever, when it comes to the coaching search stuff, because I think some of these guys use offers to elicit better offers from programs that they want to be at. Like if you're Joe Brady and you can go get a really nice offer from Ohio State and then go shop that around the NFL and maybe get a head coaching offer, get a better OC offer in the NFL, God bless you. But if Zach says it, he's generally been pretty good about that kind of stuff. But I think that Jason Candle to me is the favorite right now, just because of his experience at Toledo. Again, if I'm in Ryan Day's shoes and I'm Ryan Day and I'm 45 years old or whatever Ryan is, 44, 45, and I'm trying to find a guy who's going to be a true head coach of the offense, a true head coach, not having me glad hand, not having me put him on the rails. Jason Candle makes a ton of sense. Jason Candle's run an entire program in the MAC. They've been very successful. They've been very good. I think, frankly, Ryan Day, if he hires Jason Candle, could learn a lot from Jason Candle because, if Jason Candle was at Ohio State and Ryan Day was at Toledo, they'd probably have real similar records. Again, like Toledo is kind of the Ohio State of the MAC. They've got the best players, the best location, the richest donors because it's in Toledo. It's not in Oxford or Akron or Kent or wherever, Bowling Green. So, I think there's a lot of similarity there. But Jason's, he's been at Toledo instead of being at the powerhouse Big Ten school. He didn't get kind of the magical position that was being the OC as Urban Meyer retired like Ryan did. And then all of a sudden you hire Ryan, who, again, Ryan had been fired 2 straight years. Urban hires him. 2 years later, he's the head coach at Ohio State, and people think he's the greatest coach, ever. But, I mean, a lot of coaches could have done what Ryan's done the last few years. Now, again, I think Ryan's got a lot of room to grow. He could be a lot better than he is. But, at Ohio State, you're going to go 11-1. And you got to beat Michigan, and you got to beat whoever's in the playoffs to really grow. Poohbeard 12, thank you for the 10. Kirk, in your experience, what are the main differences between the training regimen / staff in the NFL versus OSU? Is there anything that NFL teams do that premier college teams, i.e. Mick, don't? Now, no, absolutely not. Like when I was in the league, it was hard to compare to Ohio State because in the NFL, the training table is way better, the food's way better, the nutrition stuff's way better because there never used to be a budget. Now in modern college football, there's no budgets. These kids can uh, breakfast, lunch, dinner, show up to the facility, eat gourmet meals, take food home, healthy snacks, nutrition, protein shakes. Like those were few and far between. They didn't exist when I played there. But when I got to the league, it was like, oh, nutrition was a big thing. In terms of training regimens, I think that when you're in college, it's a lot more aggressive and physical just because, it's college. Like college, you run more, you lift more. It's a lot more like basic training in the armed forces than it is in the NFL. Because you have to understand, if you're in the NFL, if you're some big meaty strength coach, some big meathead, and you're saying, okay, everyone's going to squat heavy today, everyone's going to bench every day, and you put, I don't know, 550 pounds on Calvin Johnson's back, and he blows a hamstring, hurts his knee, hurts his lower back, like that strength coach is going to get fired on the spot because he hurt the star player, the guy who's like painted his murals on the side of the stadium. Whereas in college, it's expected that you're turning these kids, you're whooping these kids a little bit, you're turning up on these kids a little bit. If you're a pro strength coach, it's more about maintaining these guys, maybe getting some, depending on where the program is. Like if you're a 1-in-15 program and when you're at the Miami Dolphins, they're going to try to get strength gains and get these guys right. But if you're at a good team, your job isn't to try to hurt the running back or hurt the starting receiver or the superstar quarterback because you want to squat heavy or bench heavy or deadlift heavy or whatever. It's just to maintain that. Or in college, with Mickey, I mean, he wants everybody, Urban wanted everybody to be strong, big, strong. And if something happens, oh, well, it happens. So that was a huge difference because, again, in college, guys, when I was there and when I coached there, guys all kind of made the same amount of money. Even now, guys, if you're JJ Smith and you make $1 million this year, you're making $1 million. Where in the NFL, if you're the top wide receiver, you're making $25 million. So if you're Justin Jefferson and the strength coach says, hey, put 600 pounds on his back and tell him to squat it, and he hurts his back and hurts his ankle, blows his knee out, whatever, like that strength coach is getting fired. I'm sorry. Nevada, any thoughts on that?
No, I just something that people you've told the story before, but I always found it fascinating was how when Trust, just on the nutrition side, when Tressel was there, he kind of treated it almost like it was his own money. Like he didn't want to spend any money, and the food was kind of crappy. And
it's terrible.
And then when
it was awful.
When Meyer comes in, and it's like, oh no, this is not going to do. So
God.
Just the difference between the two guys just was that always kind of struck me as kind of funny. But the players today have Urban Meyer to thank for the chefs and the meals and the great food, because as you can attest to, it wasn't that way under Jim Tressel.
And again, like this is the hard part for me. It's like you guys like me because I'm brutally honest. You guys like me because when you guys tune in, I give you the real story, and I'm right about everything I talk about, and I'm honest. And again, when we played, our training table was terrible. It was awful. And again, when like training table would be like a buffet. And again, don't cry for me, Argentina. And you're like, oh, Kirk, you poor full scholarship athlete, whatever. But I'd be like, look, our meals were like $37 a person. The 2 nights a week we had dinner, and then on Friday morning we had breakfast. Tressel would always have Friday morning breakfast because he didn't want us to be all skipping breakfast, hungover. So most of us would go out on Thursday nights and party. So of course we had to have 7 to like 9 a.m. breakfast, so that most of us would have to crawl out of bed, scamper over to breakfast, eat like some eggs and some milk and leave and whatever. But the food was bad. And again, like for most of you guys that have had $37 in your pocket at some point, if I gave you $37 and said, hey, could you go eat well on this? Could you be happy on this? You guys would go to like Chipotle, Chick-fil-A, Buffalo Wild Wings, wherever. And you guys would get $37. You'd be like, oh God, yeah, I can eat like a king on this. This is amazing. I can get chicken wings, I can get a burrito, and get whatever I want. But like the food that they served us, it just wasn't good. And again, like not trying to be whiny, but I told Tress, I'm like, look, it was so bad. The one time I was like, look, can we just get a check for the money that you guys spend on our food if we don't want to eat it? And I can go eat Chipotle back then in '05 for like $10. I get 2 burritos in $10 back in the glory days. And it would have been amazing. But he's like, no, because the problem is they did a study that when we gave kids the money directly, they would just buy shoes or video games and they wouldn't spend money on food and they'd be starving. I'm like, well, I'm not going to be starving because I eat every day. I don't care about no video games. But he's like, oh, we can't do that. We're just going to have you guys drive down here. Plus, I lived in Hilliard, so it was like a 25-minute drive to go eat. And I'm like, this sucks. I drive past 100 restaurants that I'd rather eat at. But again, not trying to whine about it, but just kind of is what it is. Sergio Soma, thanks for the 5. Kirk in Nevada, tell me, will we run Howard? Yes. I saw an interview and it sounded like he didn't like to run, but he had to. His response made me nervous. Well, I think that the way he was used at K-State is exactly how we should use him here. But your thoughts on that, Nevada? Do you think we'll run Will Howard? I think that not running him would be a crime against humanity, given how talented he is at it. But again, I'm just trying to throw that out there to you. Nevada, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, he's definitely going to run. I mean, look at what were the stats today on Buffalo's game? How many yards did Josh Allen run for today against the Steelers?
I mean, he had 50. He had 58. When I sent you a screenshot, he had like 58, and that was an hour and a half before we started. So I mean,
yeah, he was crazy today. He's definitely going to run, and I thought it's funny. I do have to say one thing about the interview. So they give Will Howard an interview with one of the local podcasts, and they kind of throw it out there. And what you guys have to remember is there's a price that comes along with that. The price that comes along with that now is you owe Ohio State, so you got to say what Ohio State wants you to say when they want you to say.
Oh yeah. Oh God.
Like that is the price. That's the price of poker right there. So whenever you're on that stuff, whenever you see that, just remember they're paying a price for that. And we'll never do that. We're not gonna. We think, one of the fun things about this podcast is the ability just to kind of say what we want to say, and we'll tell you when it's good. We'll tell you when it's bad. Things are really good right now. Really, really good. And with this new AD, with this new president, with things that are going on, the way that Ohio State's figured out NIL, things are really, 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 really good. And we're going to all find out about Caleb Downs here in the next 24, 48 hours. Conversations are continuing. Everybody that he was attached to at Alabama has left. And I don't believe, as of going on the air, I don't believe they've announced a new defensive coordinator. I know he was going to wait on that before he made his decision, but I haven't seen that. I know they talked about Robinson coming back from Georgia, but that didn't happen. So he's very much in play.
Yeah, I mean, T-Rob did not come back, so that is what it is. I mean, they're up the creek. Sometimes it is going to be ugly. Chiefs at Bills next Sunday. Woo! Pat Mahomes' first road playoff game. That'll be amazing. I can't wait for that. Let me see. Monty Mitchell, thank you for the 5. If it's an NFL guy, what's the likelihood we will retain him for more than 2 seasons? Will he be tasked with teaching Heartline? Well, it depends on who. I think if it's Joe Brady, it's a lot less because he's kind of the hot head coaching name, OC name. I get wary of hiring these NFL guys because I always feel like they want to get back to the NFL as fast as possible. Once they've been in that NFL life and you're eating that filet mignon and you get that long off season and you don't have to recruit, you don't have to re-recruit your roster. It's like Todd Monken did fantastic work for Georgia last year, winning the national championship, beat us, and as soon as he won that national championship, it was like as soon as the clock hit 0, he was going right to the Baltimore Ravens. He was gone. And he's been a long-time NFL guy. He's been an NFL guy for his whole career, and he couldn't wait to get back to the NFL after he saw the grind that college has turned into. So, I think if you're Ryan, you got to be smart about it. If you go hire an NFL guy, it's probably a 1-year solution, maybe a 2-year solution. But if you're the OC at Ohio State, you probably should be moving on every 2 years. If you're good, if you're great. I mean, like Jason Candle, who, again, gun to my head, if you said, Kirk, who do you think was going to be the OC? It's going to be Jason Candle. Like, he's been at Toledo for 7, 8 years. He's kind of at a dead end in his career just because, like Toledo's a nice program. It's a back school, but you're perpetually going to be getting poached by the big dogs. They took Daquan Finn. He went to Baylor. Penny Boone, their star running back, took off. Their best offensive guard took off, went to Texas Tech. So, you're going to be always up against it. But, if he kills it at Ohio State in 1 or 2 years, like he's going to be up for the Indiana job, the Purdue job, a lower tier Big Ten school is going to come after him, a lower tier SEC school, unless he kills it, and then he might get an even higher job. But, you got to kind of start and go run a bigger program somewhere. Like Tom Herman won the national title, beat Alabama, beat Oregon, and he ended up getting a head coaching job at Houston. And in 2 years, he got the head coaching job at Texas. So I think if you're a coordinator at Ohio State, generally you should probably move on every 2, 3 years if you're killing it. Unless you're Jim Knowles, who's 75 years old or 70 years old or whatever it is, and he's not exactly the profile. But if you're a 44-year-old guy like Jason Candle, 2 years at Ohio State, do your diligence and see where the chips lay. But I'm excited to see who we end up with. But yeah, I think if it's an NFL guy, it's always going to be a shorter term solution because those guys love the NFL. Treasure of the Torah, thank you for the 20. Kirk, can you stop fronting and drink that honey and tea, my brother? Dude, I've been trying. I've had the Z-Pack, honey tea, chicken soup, pretty much anything you could imagine I've been sipping on, so should be ready. Don't make me fly down to Columbus and drop you off some raw honey and tea, broski. Health is wealth. God bless, fam. I appreciate you, man. You could just drop that down, or drop it off with a little one of those little parachute things coming out of the deal. But I trying, dog. I mean, I've been all in the tea and all in the honey. So, but I think I'm feeling a little better. I'm turning the corner. Nevada, Jamie French is a guy. I got his film. Let me get that yanked up real quick. He's a Bama kid. He's a really good player. Decommitted from Bama. I think that they're dead in the water now that Saban's gone. Heartline is going to see him this week. I broke that last night. Your thoughts on Jamie French?
I think the Buckeyes have got a really good chance of landing another 5-star wide receiver from the famed South Florida Express 7-on-7 team. So this is definitely a name to keep an eye on. Definitely a focus guy for Ohio State. And for the people asking, do we need another 5-star wide receiver? The answer is always yes. You can never have enough of those guys. You're playing 3 and 4 at a time. And every time you roll another 5-star out there, you're getting a mismatch against somebody on the defense. So this would be a huge get. Alabama's in a little bit of turmoil right now with Saban leaving. This is when you got to get them, is when they're down. And this is a guy that Brian Hartline's focused on, and Hartline doesn't miss on many when he's focused on him. So let's go.
Yeah, he's a freak, man. I mean, he's an impressive dude. He's right from our neck of the woods. I know that SFE is all over this kid, and when you got JJ and Ennis and Tate up here, and this kid wants to be the next great receiver, there's already some testament there. So what these guys can do, especially if they have a big year, especially if Ennis and Tate have a big year this year as sophomores, like. I think it really cements Jamie French in it for us. And again, that's why I always laugh at some of these kids. They commit to Bama when they're like sophomores, and does it sick? Do coaches change? Do relationships change? That's why you just keep recruiting guys. This isn't the olden days of gentleman's agreement and kind of backing down. This is more like, hey, let's turn up. Let's stay with this guy. And I mean, as soon as this kid decommitted, Brian Hartline's booking a flight, and he's flying down to see him this week. So it's going to be really good for us, good for Ohio State. Again, when you've got JJ up here and Ennis and Tate, it just kicks the door in super easy. Gunnar Bennett, sorry about your loss, brother. I saw your comment. Appreciate you, my man. Thank you for all your support on the channel. I hope you're good, my man. This has been probably a rough stretch for you, but we're thinking about you on the scoop. So appreciate you, brother. But yeah, this has been it's been a good run. Nevada, were you surprised by the Steelers getting waxed today? I was happy for it because I know our Browns fans hate the Steelers big time.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's just hard. I mean, I thought Mason Rudolph did a credible job, and they actually hung in there. But it just Buffalo's tough at home, and when Josh Allen's got it going, and they kind of got it going with him right now. That quarterback run, I know we talk about it every show, but it's
Oh God.
overpowered. Whenever they whenever they needed a big play, they went to that, and it worked just about every single time. So I hope Ohio State incorporates that liberally into their attack in 2024 because it would make them darn near unstoppable.
I love the statistics. 8 carries for 74 yards with a long of 52. So Josh Allen, who weighs 250 pounds, ran for 52 yards against the Steelers defense in one play, which is spectacular, but it's also a backbreaker. I mean, again, you look at the rushing, the Bills had 34 carries for 179 yards, 5.3 a carry. The Steelers had 23 for 106, 4.6 a carry. So, and a lot of that's because Josh Allen had 8 for 74. That was the thing that really buoyed him. And, when it's ugly and nasty and cold and trash out, like the QB run can't be stopped. So, and he had a rushing touchdown to boot. So, again, we don't whine about that for our health. We just know how difficult it is to stop. And, Mason Rudolph had 2 for 10, and Josh Allen had 8 for 74. So, who do you think's winning that battle? Nevada, as we get into kind of this stretch where they start winter conditioning up, what are you looking forward to hearing about this team? What are you looking forward to hearing about with this new athletic director? Again, I think that Ross Bjork is going to be a huge upgrade from what we've had the last 20 years, just because we're going from outside. And again, when we hired Gene Smith, Gene had come from out Arizona State. Nobody knew who he was. Nobody's like, oh my God, transformative, amazing, whatever. And I think Gene's been okay. Like, I'll be fair, he's been okay, but he hasn't been great. Like, our football program hasn't gone to higher levels because of him. A lot of areas of our athletic program that don't matter have gotten nicer stuff, but football should be prioritized. I hope Ross Bjork does that. But what are some of the upgrades you're going to see with Ross Bjork versus Gene Smith?
Well, like you said, I mean the facility. I mean the Woody Hayes it was a great concept and a great idea when they built it. But I mean, what year was that built? I mean, that was a long time ago. I mean, it's been a long time since Ohio State's kind of taken a big step forward on the facilities front. I remember having those conversations with Andy Geiger when Andy Geiger was here about stuff that was needed, the stuff that was required, and I just like the fact that you've got a guy from a state like Texas where, I mean, let's face it, in Texas, they take their football very, very seriously at all levels, at high school level, at the college level, the pro level. They take their football very seriously. And this is a guy that's going to come in here and get football the resources that it needs. He's not afraid to ask for money, and he's a young guy. And I love having those young, kind of aggressive guys that could be here for a while and really kind of grow around Ohio State. And, he's got a track record of success. And I just think it bodes well for Ohio State, from a team standpoint. Like, I want to hear more about the offensive line and how they're building the offensive line and, what they're going to do about that right tackle spot. We've talked about Josh Fryer moving down to guard. Who's stepping up in winter conditioning to kind of grab that as a wide open spot right now? Or will they look to the second portal? Don't know. Or one of the open portal things now with Washington and with Alabama. So, lots of intrigue, but my eyes are going to be focused solely on the offensive line, because I think it's really our only question mark in an otherwise stacked roster.
Totally agree. Sean Rawlings, thanks for the super chat. Thanks for being a Scoop Ultra member as well. I heard Harbaugh interviewed for the Chargers today. He did. And have a copycat, and you have a copycat, exact same name and alerts are the same. You have a copycat, same exact name and alerts are the same. I'm not sure what that means, but yes, he did interview with the Chargers. If people copied us, that wouldn't surprise me, because Nevada Buck has had that for probably 4 weeks now, that he's been saying, watch the LA Chargers and Harbaugh. And this is like before the Bama game, before the playoff game. Watch the LA Chargers and Harbaugh. He's been saying it. And then magically, who's the first team that interviews with him? The LA Chargers. Not the Raiders, not the Patriots, not Atlanta, the Chargers. So again, Nevada's got very good sources, especially in Los Angeles and especially in the agent community. So he didn't just pull that name out of a hat, especially with the Seahawks being open. There's a bunch of open teams right now. Cowboys might be open in the next day or two. So Nevada, you still feel like your boy Harbaugh is gone?
Oh, he's gone for sure. It's just a question of where he's gone to. But Spanos family wants him. That's the reason they made him the first hire. I mean, I haven't heard. I mean, I'll hear in the next couple of days about how everything went with the hire. I mean, unless Harbaugh did something really weird in there, I would expect that he'd be the guy. They've got to kind of go through the process of interviewing all sorts of. There's a Rooney Rule. They've got to go through lots of different interviews and things like that. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to be Harbaugh for sure.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, again, these guys are. you know, it would have been one thing if a lot of these guys, the 6 or 7 or 8 guys that declared early, I mean, they had a lot of guys declare early, would have came back and said, "Hey, let's go for one last run, one last ride." But it was the opposite. Like those guys all left. Like guys that Brendan McGregor, the 17, the defensive end who I think stinks. Chris Jenkins, who's a good player. JJ McCarthy, Corum, all these guys that had extra eligibility, they all took off. Zach Sinter, the guard who broke his leg, took off. I mean, those guys were on the first thing smoking to get out of town because they knew that, for one, Jim Harbaugh's gone. For two, the meteorite is rocketing towards Ann Arbor, and they don't want to be there when it hits. So, again, I think that Jim Harbaugh's gone. Again, and it's not just me and Nevada Bucks saying it. Like Bruce Feldman, who's the best insider in all of sports, said the same thing. I'm convinced that Jim Harbaugh's gone. Look up his interview with Rich Eisen. Like, I mean, these guys had every opportunity at the major celebration that they had, this weekend to say, hey, JJ McCarthy could have walked up to that podium and said, hey, I'm coming back for another year. Yeah. Woo. Amazing. Didn't say a word. Jim Harbaugh is sitting there. Ward Manuel, who weighs 700 pounds, is up there looking like Jabba the Hutt saying, well, I'm going to do everything I can to get the approved extension and get this coach extended right now. And they pan to Jim Harbaugh, and he's like, please, please, yes, please, because I'm going to use that as leverage for Don Yee for the LA Chargers. Again, Jim Harbaugh hired the most powerful football agent of all time for the National Football League as his new agent. So that isn't so he could ratify some contract that's been on his desk from the athletic director for 5 months. It's because he's going to the league. You don't hire Don Yee, who had, I don't know, Bill, he had Parcells and Belichick and Tom Brady. I mean, this is the guy that you want if you're in the NFL. And that's who Harbaugh just hired. So guess what? He's going to get a lot of money from the LA Chargers, and he's going to be coaching Justin Herbert next year. Well, Nevada, I think we can wrap this thing up. Looks like the Bucks are doing some work on the Eagles. I'm digging that. But your thoughts on today's news, and we'll get ready to get after it tomorrow.
A plus plus day to be an Ohio State football fan.
Yep.
Keep an eye on the Caleb Downs thing, because that could get pretty crispy here over the next 24, 40 hours. Look for that announcement on the defensive coordinator for Alabama, and that should be that'll be the last piece of the puzzle he needs to make his decision. So stay tuned.
Yep, I totally agree. And if you guys enjoy this content, join BuckeyeScoop.com. I'm about to jump on the message board, post a big update on what is going on. A lot of rumors coming around. But again, huge day for Ohio State. Huge new athletic director hire. You should be very excited about it. I'm very excited about it. So again, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. We'll get all of that in to you guys. Shout out where you guys are watching from. Let me know what you think of the new athletic director hire in the comments. Again, I want your opinions of it. So yes, no, maybe so. You guys have heard everything about the guy. He was at Ole Miss. He's at Texas A&M. I think he's going to be a monster. So let me know your thoughts on that. And as always, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. And thank you, Scoop family. We're going to see you guys tomorrow. Appreciate you guys. We're going to break down Jamie French tomorrow. Superstar, 5-star, probably our next superstar receiver. So you guys get excited about that. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.